Welcome to our deep dive, and today we're going to be looking into AI hallucinations.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like everyone's talking about AI these days.
Yeah.
But you know what happens when it gets things wrong?
Right.
That's what we're going to be exploring.
Interesting.
Like those moments when AI kind of stumbles
Yeah.
and gives us information that's just plain false.
Yeah, definitely. And the terminology itself, I think, is pretty fascinating. We're talking about hallucinations, something that we normally associate with human sensory experiences.
Right.
But when it comes to AI, it's something very different.
Yeah.
We're talking about the generation of incorrect
Right.
or misleading information that's presented as factual.
Yeah, and according to some analysts,
Mm-hmm.
it can happen up to like 27% of the time
Wow.
in chatbots.
Yeah.
So before we go any further, I think it's important to really define
Yeah.
what an AI hallucination actually is.
Right. So a good place to start, I think, is with the definition from Wikipedia, which defines it as a confident response by an AI that doesn't seem to be justified by its training data.
Mhm.
So essentially, when AI fabricates information,
Okay.
it might present opinions as facts
Right.
or make claims that can't be traced back to any of its source material.
So it's just making stuff up.
Well, not exactly.
Yeah.
AI doesn't have intentions or motivations in the same way that humans do.
Okay.
It's more about the limitations of the technology.
Gotcha.
These AI models, especially large language models, are trained on huge data sets
Yeah.
of text and code, and they learn to identify patterns and relationships in that data,
Yeah.
which allows them to generate what seems like coherent and informative responses.
Right.
But sometimes those responses go off the rails.
Right. And that's when those hallucinations come in.
Exactly. And there are a couple of key reasons why that happens.
Okay.
And one is related to what we call like data woes.
Data woe.
So if the data that's used to train the AI is incomplete or biased, or even contains errors, the AI is going to learn those flaws and it'll reproduce them.
Yeah, so it's like garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. The AI is only as good as the data it's trained on.
Right.
But even with high quality data, AI can still hallucinate
Okay.
because it lacks what we call grounding.
Grass.
For true understanding of the real world.
Okay.
So, for example, an AI might just fabricate links to websites,
Okay.
not realizing that those websites don't even exist.
So it's creating its own alternate reality.
In a way, yeah. And then there's also the issue of overconfidence,
Okay.
which is particularly common in large language models.
Mm-hmm.
These models can become so good at mimicking human language
Yeah.
that they start to believe their own hype, so to speak.
Right.
And they become overconfident in the responses, even when the responses are based on faulty reasoning or incomplete information.
And this can actually make the problem worse.
It can, because as the AI starts generating longer and more complex responses,
Right.
the chances of the errors compounding actually increase. It's kind of like a snowball effect,
Yeah.
where small inaccuracies lead to bigger and bigger hallucinations.
Gotcha. So we've got data issues,
Right.
lack of real-world grounding,
Yep.
and overconfident AIs.
Yep.
No wonder things go wrong sometimes.
Exactly.
But let's get specific. Wikipedia actually highlights how prevalent
Mm-hmm.
these AI hallucinations are in natural language processing,
Right.
NLP for short.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically the area of AI that deals with language,
Exactly.
like chatbots, text generators, translation tools, you name it.
Precisely. And that's where we see a lot of those.
Right.
Wow, did the AI really just say that moment?
Yeah, and I think one of the most well-known examples of this
Yeah.
is ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
the AI chatbot developed by OpenAI.
Yeah,
It's been incredibly popular,
for sure.
but it's also been caught hallucinating on multiple occasions.
It has, and these cases are really valuable because
Yeah.
they provide insight into the different ways these hallucinations can manifest. So, for instance, there was the time that the lawyer used ChatGPT for legal research.
Oh, this is the one where he ended up citing fake legal cases in court.
Exactly. He asked ChatGPT for information on relevant precedents.
Yeah.
And the AI, instead of pulling from actual legal databases,
Yeah.
just completely fabricated cases.
Wow.
Complete with citations and legal arguments.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it really highlights one of the biggest concerns with AI hallucinations.
Yeah.
The potential for real-world consequences.
Yeah. It's a stark reminder that we can't blindly trust
Yeah.
what AI tells us,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to important decisions.
And as AI is getting more integrated into our lives,
Right.
the stakes just get higher.
Yeah.
Like, think about AI being used in healthcare, finance,
Yeah.
even self-driving cars.
Yeah.
The consequences of hallucinations in those contexts could be even more significant.
Right. It's almost like we're handing over the reins
Yeah.
to a system that's still prone to these unpredictable errors.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to really understand this, the nuances of AI hallucinations,
Yeah.
and come up with ways to mitigate their impact.
Totally. But before we dive into potential solutions,
Yeah.
I think it's helpful to just kind of see some more specific examples
Right.
of how AI has actually gone astray.
Yeah.
So Wikipedia lists quite a few, but one that really stood out to me was Galactica,
Ah, yes. Galactica.
the AI model developed by Meta.
It was designed to revolutionize scientific research
Right.
by summarizing academic papers and even generating hypotheses.
Cool.
It was trained on a massive amount of scientific text and code,
Mm-hmm.
and there were high hopes for its potential.
But it didn't quite work out as planned.
It did not.
What happened?
It was taken offline just 3 days after it launched publicly.
Wow, why?
It was generating nonsensical and factually incorrect scientific claims.
Oh, so instead of advancing science, it was spreading misinformation.
That's one way to put it. It was even caught citing non-existent research papers as evidence.
crazy.
And the irony is palpable. A scientific AI
Right.
gone rogue, generating fabricated science.
Wow.
It's a clear reminder that even with the best intentions and even massive data sets,
Yeah.
AI can still fall prey to these fundamental flaws.
It's fascinating and a little bit frightening.
It certainly is.
This incredible potential coupled with these unpredictable
Yeah.
and potentially harmful errors.
And that's why we need to approach AI with enthusiasm, but a healthy dose of skepticism.
Well said. So we've seen how these AI hallucinations can manifest in different ways.
Right.
From chatbots fabricating legal cases
Yeah.
to scientific AIs generating fake research.
Mm-hmm.
But one area I think that deserves special attention
Yeah.
is the potential impact on academia
Yeah.
and the integrity of scientific knowledge.
Absolutely. Let's delve into that further after a quick break.
So good.
So as we were discussing, the potential for these AI hallucinations to impact academia and scientific research, it's a serious concern.
Yeah. Imagine a world where you've got these AI-generated research papers,
Right.
complete with like fabricated data and citations, just start infiltrating scientific journals.
It's a disturbing thought.
Right.
It really undermines the whole foundation
Yeah.
of scientific knowledge, which is built on trust
Yeah.
and rigorous methodology and peer review.
Exactly. And what's really worrying is that these fabrications can be so hard to spot,
Right.
even for seasoned experts.
The Wikipedia article actually mentioned a study where researchers created these fake scientific abstracts using AI.
Yeah.
And even human reviewers had a tough time telling them apart from the real ones.
Yeah, that's right. The researchers at Northwestern University, they used an AI model to create 50 fake abstracts
Okay.
based on real scientific papers, and they were surprisingly convincing.
Wow.
They even passed plagiarism detection software.
So even the tools that are designed to catch plagiarism were fooled.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
and it really suggests we need like new approaches.
To ensure the integrity of scientific publications in this age of AI,
Right.
the authors of the study suggested implementing stricter guidelines for the use of AI in research and scientific writing.
Yeah, that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
It seems like we need to be a lot more careful
Yeah.
in how we evaluate scientific claims, especially as AI gets better
Yeah.
at mimicking human language and reasoning.
For sure. And it's not just about fabricated research.
Right.
There's also the issue of AI amplifying biases.
Yeah, the MIT Sloan article talked about that.
Exactly. If an AI model is trained on data that reflects societal biases, it will just learn those biases and keep perpetuating them in its output.
So, for example, if an AI model is trained on medical data,
Right.
that's mainly from male patients,
Yeah.
it might generate inaccurate diagnoses for female patients.
Exactly. And this has serious implications for healthcare,
Yeah.
for drug development,
Mm-hmm.
even our understanding of diseases.
Right. And it's not just limited to gender bias. It could be racial, socioeconomic,
Right.
all sorts of prejudice.
Any kind of bias that's embedded in the data.
Right. It's almost like this vicious cycle where AI is reinforcing inequality.
Exactly. That's the danger we need to be aware of.
Yeah.
And it underscores the importance of not seeing AI as like this neutral tool.
Right.
AI reflects the values and biases of its creators
Right.
and of the data it's trained on.
Yeah.
And if we're not careful, it's just going to make existing societal problems worse.
So it's not just about making AI smarter.
Right.
It's about making it fairer and more ethical.
Exactly. And that requires really thinking carefully about the data,
Yeah.
about the algorithms that kind of govern how it behaves, and the potential impact on different groups.
Right. So it seems like responsible AI development really requires this multidisciplinary approach,
It does.
bringing in experts in computer science and ethics, social sciences, all sorts of fields.
Absolutely. It's not just a technical challenge.
Right.
It's a social and ethical one.
Yeah.
And it needs collaboration and open dialogue. Yeah.
Between researchers, developers, policymakers, and the public.
So where do we go from here?
Right.
And we've seen how AI can generate this false information, how it can perpetuate biases, and even undermine scientific knowledge. It's a bit daunting.
It can feel overwhelming, but I think it's important to remember that awareness is the first step towards solutions. By understanding how these hallucinations and biases come up, we can start to figure out how to mitigate their impact.
And hopefully those strategies will allow us to kind of use the power of AI for good.
Exactly.
While avoiding the pitfalls.
It's about finding that balance between innovation and responsibility.
Well said. And while we've focused on like the challenges so far, there are some exciting developments in AI research that are aiming to address these issues head on.
There are.
So let's shift gears and explore some of those more promising developments.
Welcome back to our deep dive. And, we've spent a lot of time looking at the darker side of AI.
Right.
Those times when it kind of goes off the rails and presents us with inaccurate or misleading information.
Right.
But it's not all doom and gloom.
It's not.
There's a whole other side to this.
Yeah.
About the ongoing efforts to make AI more reliable, more transparent, more trustworthy.
Absolutely. And while AI hallucinations definitely pose challenges, researchers and developers are actively working on solutions.
Okay.
One promising approach that's being explored is almost like creating an AI debate club.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this AI debate club.
Essentially, you have multiple AI models, each with their own strengths and perspectives, and they kind of engage in this argument, challenging each other's assumptions, pointing out inconsistencies, and trying to arrive at a consensus on like the most accurate answer.
So it's like peer review, but for AI.
Exactly. By making these AI models scrutinize each other's responses, we can potentially identify and get rid of those hallucinations that might slip through if we were just relying on a single model.
That's really clever. It's like using AI strengths against its weaknesses.
Right.
Are there any other techniques that people are exploring?
Oh, yeah, there are a lot.
Okay.
Another interesting approach is using web search results to validate the information generated by AI.
Gotcha.
So let's say you've got an AI chatbot that provides you with a summary of some historical event.
Okay.
It can generate a question based on that summary.
Okay.
And then use a search engine to see if the answer it finds online aligns with what it initially generated.
So it's like the AI is fact-checking itself?
Exactly. It's like introducing another layer of verification to reduce the chances of the AI confidently presenting you with something false.
Right, but what about the underlying data issues that we talked about? I mean, is there a way to prevent AI from learning these bad habits?
You're hitting on a really important point. The quality of the data is everything. If we feed AI biased or incomplete data, we're basically setting it up for failure.
Right.
And that's why there's this growing emphasis on creating these high-quality data sets that are diverse and representative for AI training.
So it's not just about how much data you have.
Right.
It's about the quality and the thoughtfulness that goes into choosing it.
Exactly. And that's where human oversight is absolutely crucial. We can't just unleash AI onto the internet and expect it to learn everything perfectly.
Right.
We need humans involved to make sure that data is accurate, unbiased, and aligns with our values.
It's like training an apprentice.
Yeah.
You need to give them the right tools, guidance, and feedback to help them learn and avoid mistakes.
That's a great analogy. And just like an apprentice needs mentorship.
Yeah.
AI models need constant monitoring and evaluation.
Right.
We need to be on the lookout for any biases or inaccuracies that come up even after an AI system is out there in the world.
So it's this ongoing process, this partnership between humans and machines.
Absolutely. To build and maintain trustworthy AI systems,
Yeah.
we need this kind of collaboration where we take advantage of the strengths of both.
Right. It seems like this balance thing keeps coming up.
Yeah.
This need to find that sweet spot between the potential of AI
Right.
and the need for responsible development and oversight.
I couldn't agree more. It's recognizing that AI is a powerful tool,
Yeah.
but it's not a cure-all.
Right.
It can help us do amazing things,
Yeah.
solve really complex problems,
Mm-hmm.
but it's up to us to make sure it's used ethically, responsibly, for the benefit of everyone.
And that brings up a really important point.
Yeah.
As AI keeps evolving,
Mm-hmm.
it's so important to have these conversations about what it all means.
Yeah.
The good and the bad.
Right.
We need to think carefully and involve all sorts of different perspectives
Absolutely.
to make sure the future of AI aligns with what we believe in and what we want to achieve.
This deep dive has been a journey, and it's clear that there's still a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, the future of AI isn't set in stone.
Right.
It's something that we are shaping through the choices we make.
So keep asking questions, stay curious, and never stop challenging the assumptions we make about AI and its role in our lives.
Because ultimately, the future of AI is a reflection of our own values.
Well said. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on this intellectual adventure.
Thank you.
We hope you found this deep dive into the world of AI hallucinations informative and thought-provoking.
For sure.
And remember, the more we understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to use its potential and avoid its risks.
Totally.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning.
See you next time.